Okay, Karlja, welcome back to the show. We've been following your trip all along. I got this message from my province, Northern Province, Gilgit Baltistan, and they sent me a screenshot of your tweet that you were in Kashgar, and they told me to tell you to visit Khunjrab and meet them, and they had this ox burger made for you. I'm like, whoa, man. Okay, so how was your trip? Are you back?
I am back, and it was a great trip. Had I know this invitation, I would made an effort to go to the border crossing. We were close. We were right up to the Tashkurgan, but from there it's another 5 hours drive to the border crossing, which Pepe did want to go, but because of the time constraint, he has Pepe. So I traveled to Xinjiang with Pepe Escobar. For the people who didn't know, we were there for 2 weeks, and but the Pepe was in China for he's on the 30 days visa free because he has a European passport, and he actually traveled to China beforehand. He did the whole Silk Road. He started in Xi'an, travel up the Silk Road to Dunhuang, and then met us in Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang. So by that time, we only had 2 weeks left, and because of the time constraint, we could not literally go to the border with Pakistan, even though Pepe really wanted to do that. Uh, had I know, I would just make an effort to go by myself to have the Oxburger. And yeah, I next for my next trip for sure because I just find out that so I have multiple entry visa to China for 10 years. So all I need to do, I guess, just get a Pakistan visa. I got to figure out how that works so I can just cross the border and then come back. We'll have to save that for the next time. Uh, Me and Pepe actually going back next year, early spring, because we this time we traveled through the southern Xinjiang, so everything south of the Tianshan Mountains. We flew to Urumqi, and then we started in Turpan, and then we drove to from Turpan we went to Kucha, and then we drove across Taklamakan Desert, the world's second largest moving sand desert after Sahara. China built a brand new highway right across it because they figure out a way to fix the sand dunes with these like what they call magic Chinese square. They're basically straw grids they place on both sides of the highway that will fix the sand in place so the sand dune does not cover the highway. So we drove about 6 hours across the entire desert, and we visited all the oasis cities along the way, all the famous Silk Road cities like Yarkand, Kashgar, um, Hotan, and it was a fantastic trip. This is something I always wanted to do, ever since I was a small child. Because I remember when I was in elementary school, my dad bought a calendar which features Xinjiang, right? And you have these like brightly people brightly dressed in the Uyghur traditional costume with a backdrop of the amazing sceneries in Xinjiang. So ever since that planted a seed in my mind, I wanted to visit. And so finally I got my wish. And for Pepe, this is his third trip. He actually been to Xinjiang in the early 1990s. Like so he was in Kashgar in 1997, 98, and then later in early 2000. So he was in Kashgar when before they filmed the movie Kite Runner, which is about what took place in Kabul, Afghanistan. But at that time, Hollywood they couldn't go to filming Afghanistan because one is too dangerous, and two, Kabul has changed drastically physically. So they decide to film the whole movie in Kashgar as a stand-in for Kabul in the 70s. And so that's the time when that's what actually Pepe traveled there even before that. So he got to witness the whole transformation. I actually did an interview with him afterwards just to ask about his reaction because he still have the old photos of what Kashgar used to look like. Um, yeah, let me tell you, it just transformation is pretty drastic. As many places in China over the last 20, 30 years. And I would highly recommend for anyone. A lot of people think Xinjiang is this restricted area. It's not. As long as you have a valid Chinese visa, you can go. There's no, you don't need to require any other special permit or anything. So, Pepe literally was on his, for a lot of people from EU now, they get to travel to China 30 days visa free. That's how Pepe was traveling on. Myself, I have a 10-year visa to China, so I can go anytime. And it was it was it was fantastic. China has really put into a lot of effort to develop the tourism infrastructure. We saw the evidence of that everywhere because all the hotels that we stayed in, I asked, they all built within like last year. They all just built and opened within last year. They're brand spanking new, very, very nice hotels. Those rooms, I show some of the videos on my Twitter feed. Those rooms, like Pepe say, would easily cost like 400 to 500 euros if they were in Europe. But in China, the price is very, very affordable. And right now, it's mostly catering to domestic tourism because most of the traveler now go to Xinjiang. They're domestic Chinese tourists. I asked the tour guide about it. He said after 2008, basically as a result of the Urumqi riot that happened in July 2008, there was a sharp drop off in foreign visitors to Xinjiang. And plus that, there was increasing propaganda in the Western media about Xinjiang. So a lot of the English speaking tour guide actually have to switch careers. Many join trading companies or whatever job that would take better use of their English language skills because there are just simply not enough foreign tourists coming to Xinjiang. Today, when we visited, it's mostly Chinese tourists, and there are a lot of them. So BBC reported more than 300 million people have visited Xinjiang. But BBC got to put the BBC spin on it. It says, well, but none of them see the dark side of Xinjiang. Now, this is written by a reporter who have not visited Xinjiang themselves, right? And they're quoting the so-called activist on what really the dark side is. Now, this is quite ridiculous because if you had to think about it for a second, 300 million people went to travel to Xinjiang with cameras, with cell phones, yet there's zero evidence that have leaked out of terrible thing that's supposed to be happening in Xinjiang. This is why I encourage anyone just travel to China, even if you are a China hater. At least understand what you're hating. Just go see for yourself. Really seeing is believing, and being physically there in Xinjiang, all that Western propaganda narrative just kind of falls apart. Because when I'm walking through the busy street of Kashgar, filming all these Uyghur people just going about their business, daily lives. I mean, the whole thing about the fake narrative about genocide or how Xinjiang is the world's largest open air prison. It's just so ridiculous. I mean, especially compare what's actually happening in Gaza right now, where there's plenty of material evidence, some of them posted by Israeli authorities themselves. So we had a great time. Like the food there was fantastic. If you're a meat lover, you will be in heaven in Xinjiang because it's very meat heavy. It's full of lamb, beef. I'm actually surprised. The one of the specialty dish in Kashgar is roasted pigeon. It's
Mm,
really good. It's
mm,
really good. I tried it. It was really good.
mm.
Um, and yeah, and they have and all kind of fruits because Xinjiang they have a very long sun exposure. So all the fruits they contain higher fructose content. It's very sweet, whether grapes or melon or watermelon. I mean, we just had our. I was eating nonstop, basically. I think I put on a couple of kilos when I was there. Then I look later. I look at footages of me with Pepe. I'm just standing there with a big belly because I just had a big full meal of lamb. Uh, and it was great. I highly recommend to anybody.
How was the ox burger that you tried? And tell us about that.
I had the yak. I
Yeah.
had the
Oh,
yak
okay. Okay.
burger. So
Yeah.
we were in the Tashkurgan, which is on the Pamirs, next to the Pakistan border actually, and in that high altitude, yak is one of the main grazing animals. So, everything is made from yak. We had, yak hot pot and Pepe was craving for a burger. So when we were traveling along, and then we saw a burger joint, and they're serving yak burgers. So, okay, we have to try it. It was great. It was amazing. Um, I saw this is why, and the scenery was fantastic. Especially the along the Karakoram highway, which leads to Pakistan. Um, it's just a lot of it kind of reminds me of the scenery from American West, but on a much, much grander scale. It's like if you take American West, but everything's supersized. The mountains are supersized, the desert are supersized, and it's very majestic. And when we're traveling, I couldn't stop filming because almost every uh kilometer along the way is very scenic because there's a lot of uh scenic spot, and whenever we stop by there's also a hordes of tourists. That's how big the tourism to Xinjiang is now in China domestically. We saw tourists everywhere. This is also because we travel close to the China National Day week when the entire China was on vacation for that whole week. So there were quite many tourists wherever we went. Before when we went to Kashgar Old Town, right? One of the touristy thing to do is, especially for women, they would dress in like the costume of ancient Uyghur princesses and hire a photographer to follow them around the Kashgar Old Town to take pictures. And Pepe became a main attraction because there's not many foreigners in Xinjiang, so he always get dragged in to take photos. And then I noticed. First, I thought, okay, this is just tourists from the other part of China that's doing this, and then I noticed a lot of Uyghur people also, doing the same. So I was really surprised. I went to ask them. It turns out they're also tourists. They're not from Kashgar locally, but from other part of Xinjiang. They travel from Aksu, from Kucha, from Yarkand. So they are, also traveling on vacation during the National Week to Kashgar. So it's literally for everybody, and I really it's just great atmosphere. Everybody was on vacation. They're having fun, and
Tell,
highly recommend. Highly recommend.
tell us
Highly
about
recommend.
Urumqi. How was it, culturally speaking? The you have talked about the food and talk about Muslims over there. How was Urumqi?
So Urumqi is the capital of Xinjiang. It's actually on the northern side of Xinjiang. Xinjiang is divided by a gigantic Tianshan mountain range that cuts it in half. Urumqi is just on the northern side of the Tianshan Mountains. Uh, so when we arrived, we met a local expat, Luke, who is a student from UK who had been studying for medical AI in China, and he's just waiting to get his diploma from university in Shanghai. So he just like taking a 6 month off to go to Xinjiang to teach English, and he was having a great time there. And he took us to the local Uyghur restaurant in the Uyghur quarter, and and it was great. And what I realized is like you all I have to do just to speak to just say hello in Uyghur, Yakshimu says, and people immediately open up to you and they say first they look at you funny and then they smile and then they try to start a conversation. So the locals, there's kind of age divide. Like older people, they usually don't speak Mandarin Chinese. Um, but the younger people, especially uh 30s, from 30s and below, they usually able to speak Mandarin, and this is a result of the bilingual education that was introduced in the early 2000s. So this is why for people 30s and below, they usually have no problem communicating in Mandarin. But for the older folks, usually they can only converse in the local language, so either Uyghur or Kazakh or Tajik, whatever their ethnicity is. And Urumqi is quite developed, and like that's another shock. It's just I think Urumqi is probably now by now one of the biggest city in all of Central Asia. It's China is trying to develop Urumqi as a hub for the on the Silk Road, on the new Silk Road, on the Belt and Road Initiative, for its BRI project, because Xinjiang is basically where it connects all the land corridors to Europe, to Central Asia, to South Asia, uh, and we landed in the Urumqi airport, which is gigantic. They just finished. They literally just finished that new airport like a couple months before we arrived. So everything is brand spanking new, and it's huge. They build it for capacity because China always build it for growth. They build it in anticipation of the future growth. And they also have a now they have a new metro in Urumqi. So everything is still like at night, all the lights, all the buildings are just lit up, and it looks amazing. I should show a video just around our hotel because our hotel was actually pretty central in the near the downtown Urumqi. It's just beautiful. I mean, it looks like Las Vegas at night because of the lights. Um, and it's just, you something you didn't expect when you travel to far west China. And when we went to but from Urumqi we headed towards southern Xinjiang, south of Tianshan Mountains. So the southern Xinjiang is a traditional homeland of the Uyghur people, who are majority Muslim. And when we travel to, first of all, the everywhere we went in Xinjiang, it's still obviously it's still very in particularly southern Xinjiang, it's still very heavily Uyghur place. It's still a Uyghur majority place. You will see mosques, you will see and all the police, all the local police, the police are all local. The police are all Uyghur, local Uyghurs, and they're very polite. Like there's a lot of security in Xinjiang still. I'm not gonna lie, because when we travel, even in Urumqi, all the hotels we stay in, there's a metal detector right in front of the door. But the thing is, you can just walk right through it, setting off all the alarms, and nobody cares. So, like, in the first, I thought, oh, okay, because my experience at the airport, like, do I need to take out my bag, my laptop, or that kind of thing? They're like, no, 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 just go through. And then it was beeping, and then like, no, just go. They're like, oh, just go. and so yeah, it was actually quite lax. And then when the night that we spent in Turpan, which is a town south of the Tianshan Mountains, we first of all, I was very surprised to find a very nice hotel in Turpan. They have these robots in the lobby that will deliver stuff to your room. So if you want more water for your room, for example, you call the front desk. Um, they will say, "Oh, we'll have our robotic waiters send the water to your room." And a few minutes later, you hear the door ring, and you open up, and it's like a robot there with water. You just press a button, it opens up, and you just pick your water. So I had to film that. That was still novel for me. Um, and they did have like in some of the hotels, not all the hotels, that they have the newer hotels, they have all the AI voice control. So but you can tell it to open the blinds, turn off the light, turn on the TV, turn off the TV. But it only works in Chinese. So sorry, if you don't speak Chinese, it's not gonna work because the AI. Oh, what happened to
Uh,
my camera?
yeah,
Just one
yeah,
second.
you can plug it back in.
Did it just
Yeah, it's back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I think I touched it.
yeah.
So what? The night that we spent in Turpan, we came back pretty late because there's so many. Xinjiang is pretty big, and a lot of these sites are pretty spread out. So often we spend hours in a car driving to one side to another. And Pepe wants to hit all these ancient Buddhist ruins, ancient Silk Road city ruins. So we came back to the hotel very late at night, and but we heard music, and then we saw women dressed very nicely walking through the lobby, and we went to take a peek, and it looks like a wedding, and the hotel staff saw us peeking. They're like, "You can go." We're like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you can go." We're like, "Can we film?" Because we're holding our camera, right? The pocket through. They're like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem, just go." So we crashed into a Uyghur wedding,
Whoa,
local wedding, and it was a bomb because
amazing.
like so we walked in, they had the music full blast, and all the guests were forming a giant circle, and then they have an inner circle. All the groomsmen are forming a circle around the groom, and they're doing a dance off one by one with the groom. And then on the other side, they have all the bridesmaids forming a circle around the bride, and then they are doing a one-on-one dance off with the bride. Well, I got everything on camera. It was great. I would just like a fly on the wall, and it was totally unexpected. Um, so we went when we traveled to Kashgar. We find out on the Chinese social media. So one of our film crew is from Shanghai, so she's pretty savvy on the Chinese social media. She said, "Oh, I found out in Xiaohongshu, aka Redno, that there's a restaurant in Kashgar where they, specially host weddings, and they allow spectator, to to film from the second floor." So we got to go to that restaurant. So okay, okay, we have to do that. So we went to so it turns out there's such a restaurant in Kashgar. I guess the restaurant must work out some deal with a newlywed couple that they probably give them a discount for using their dance hall. In return, they have to be agreed to. There'll be other restaurant guests will be able to watch. So it's a great setup because so every all the regular guests will be seated on the second floor, and the second floor is kind of like a it open. It's like a balcony overlooking the main dance floor on the first floor. So that's where the wedding was taking place. So we arrived when all the wedding guests were still arriving there. So another thing our tour guide told us that is that so the wedding in different places in Xinjiang follow different customs. Like in Turpan, the wedding that we crash into, they usually have they basically have two weddings, but they start the wedding start in the afternoon when the sun is about to go down. For the first half of the wedding is mostly for the elders, so you got to be respectful and, like,
Uh,
because they're elders. But by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, when the elders get tired and go home,
it's
that's when the youngins start to party. That's when they start doing all kind of dancing and stuff. And so we caught the second half of that in Turpan. And in Kashgar, we saw the whole thing. So they first start with people start with dancing again, right? Like whenever there's videos come out of Xinjiang, you always see people dancing, and this Western quote unquote journalists is like, oh, the CCP is making people dancing for the camera, which is ridiculous because dancing is part of their culture. It's really big in Xinjiang. So the wedding starts with the again the groom and the brides will hold a separate dancing party, and the people surrounding them, they will do individual dance off, but then they will give them money, cash, for us as a wedding gift. So one person will come up and do a dance off with the groom and then stuff his pocket with cash. And we're actually surprised because in our traveling through China, we haven't had to use cash. Everything was mobile payment, right? We just use our phone, use our WeChat or Alipay for everything. So we ask our tour guide. The tour guide's like, yeah, we now nowadays we just use cash for gifts. For like gifts like wedding. That's what we use cash for. And and apparently those so I asked how much that wedding banquet would cost. It actually cost quite a bit. The Each individual table costs about 3,000 RMB. And I counted,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
wedding that
yeah,
we saw in Kashgar,
yeah,
there were 35 tables. So it was not a cheap wedding, but the bride the newlywed, they make their money back when the
yeah.
guests give them
Gives
cash.
back, yeah.
So like yeah, so most of the wedding in China is actually cash positive because the guests chip in. Um, but for us, it was just a feast for the eyes. They actually hired the tightrope walker. Like that's another like a kind of part of the traditional Uyghur culture is to walk on the what do we call it? You usually see the acrobat do that.
Yeah,
They
the
walk the
tightrope.
tightrope.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, this guy hold a balance
yeah.
beam and doing the whole tightrope, and he perform his tricks, and he was doing it without any harness or anything, right? We're just like, wow, but I don't know if I want to have that on my wedding because I'm like, dude, all the eyes will be on that guy, right? he's like the star of the show, because he was a good looking guy, so he was taking his time showing off. But it's great fun. The atmosphere, it was great. I would totally do it again, and the food was fantastic. As I already mentioned, I would eat the Uyghur food every day, as Pepe would as well. Every time me and Pepe, we demand we gotta have local food. We gotta have the local Uyghur food. Give us the Laghman, which is a noodle, or the Polo, which is a rice with lambs and stuff, and you eat with your hands. And oh man, just talking about it is making my mouth watering right now. And they're another thing that they have this thing they call Samsa, which is a kind of roasted bomb, but with meat inside, dumpling.
Meat.
But
Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's called
that
samosa here.
okay, okay. Then over there it's called
Yeah.
Samsa. Yeah, I think it's has
Yeah.
very similar origin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
so good. It was
And the
so good.
money
I
thing you're
will.
talking about, the traditions, it's so familiar that I'm having a good time listening to this.
Yeah, I would go back in a heartbeat. And we are going back next spring because we did the Southern Xinjiang tour this time. So for the next trip, Pepe wants to travel Northern Xinjiang to the Kazakhstan border, where he want to film the border crossing with a new uh, Silk Road trade and where it takes place. So that's for the coming spring. Uh, but I have so many footage. I'm telling you, I still didn't have time to sit down and edit it because it's gonna take me a long time to put all these footages together. I mean, it's just describing to you it doesn't even do justice. You have to like see it.
So where I am here in Lahore, I'm like 3 provinces away from Gilgit-Baltistan, which has the Khunjra Pass. We can take a bus from here to Kashgar, and it's a 4-day bus, and it's only for 30,000 rupees. And people are, ever since this Karakoram highway has been finessed, there have been biking groups going there. making movies, coming back, and it's a beautiful track altogether. So that is where I like changed my mind because of how the Western media is saying don't know what's happening with Muslims over there, but it is like how you're describing. It's totally a different picture. This guy went inside a mosque and he was coming out when a elderly man held his hand and asked him to sit on the mosque's stairs, and they just started to have a chat. The first thing he asked him where he's from, he said, I'm from Pakistan. He said, Assalamu alaikum. He said, Wa alaikum assalam. And then he called his other guys. He said, hey, come here. Look, this guy is the Muslim from Pakistan. And that guy had such a great time. Those people took him home, uh, fed him really well, made sure he was like safe, happy, and his entire group. So that like changed Pakistani vloggers going there and making videos and uploading them is changing a lot of perception here in Pakistan actually. So the same is coming from you.
Yeah, the Uyghur people are very friendly. The locals they're super friendly, very welcoming. I mean, like I said, all I had to do just say one or two words in Uyghur. They immediately open up and they will try to have a conversation with you. They will invite you for food. Like everywhere we go, we get invited to have meal with them. And if it wasn't for the time constraint, we would have said yes to everything. Because we one time we're just we I had to stop to pee. So we stopped by this near cotton field, and then there's a bunch of Uyghur farmers gathered because they haven't seen a foreigner before, like Pepe, and so we just started to have a conversation. And it turns out these Uyghur farmers they told us they have about 7 hectares of cotton for their family, and I asked them how much how much it costs them in fertilizers and stuff, and how much they make a year. So they actually make good money, and they immediately they invite us to have lunch with them. But that day we were on a rush schedule. I really wanted to say yes, but our tour guide's like, no, no, we have to go so we can reach our destination before dark. Uh, but yeah, I wish I had more time. The thing is, another thing I realized that Xinjiang is so big, it's impossible to do everything in one trip, unless you have unlimited amount of
Time.
time. So because I basically have to develop a butt of iron to be able to sit in the car for like six,
Oh,
7 hours a day. Like our schedule was literally waking up, you have breakfast, get
getting in the
into the
car.
car by 9 o'clock, and then we arrive in our next city by 10 o'clock at night. And then and then we, of course, we do a lot of sightseeing along the way. But you are in the car all the time because Xinjiang is so huge. Just to cover the ground, we drove around about 3,500 kilometers in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Whoa. So yeah, there's a little confusion. The Silk Road starts from the east side of China and it comes like over the top of China and it comes till Kashgar. What happens from Kashgar? Does it split into two? Because one comes right into Pakistan.
Yes, yes. So Kashgar is like a hub. It has always been a trading hub, and the region of Kashgar actually border multiple countries. It borders Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan. So when we had to go near Tashkurgan, we had to go through a couple border checks, and we saw trucks coming from Pakistan and from Tajikistan with a Tajikistan license plate and Pakistan license plate, and then so for traditionally there's several routes. One is through Pakistan, you go south into South Asia to India. Another way is you go through or you go through Afghanistan. From Afghanistan you can either go south to Pakistan, or you can go west, or you can go north. And same through to Tajikistan, you can go into Central Asia. So that's how uh, the current government of China, they're trying to develop a Kashgar as a new trade zone, a free trade zone with the neighboring countries, and and this is why there's a lot of road constructions. So before Kashgar was kind of cul-de-sac in China, all they only had before there wasn't even rail connecting to Kashgar. Like you had to take a long distance bus from Kashgar to anywhere in Xinjiang, and it take a long time. And now they build a rail connected to Kashgar, so now you can take a train from Kashgar to up to Urumqi, and from Urumqi you can take a train to either west to go to Kazakhstan or east deeper into China. But I think their goal is to further develop that rail link. I mean, I just heard they're going to start the construction of Xinjiang Tibet Railway. So the rail again link will start from Kashgar and go all the way to Tibet to Lhasa. And I imagine they will probably try to eventually. They're also building they're also trying to build more connections from Kashgar to the countries in the west. Like there's still a lot of construction going on in Karakoram highway, as I understand. Yeah, yeah,
So that area, especially around Kashgar, behind Kashgar, it's the Pamir Knot, and that like three countries, including China and Pakistan, they like me. It's a very, very, what do you call it? It's a gateway to like three, four countries at the same time. So yeah, that would be. And this area that you're talking about, this is like the mountainous area, um, amazing terrains and roads cutting in between mountains. It's way more steeper from the Pakistani end because it has a little distance between the mountain and the ground area, so it's way more steeper from our end till we reach the Khunjrab Pass. But because the terrain, we have an idea how the terrain is because of the Gilgit Baltistan. It's the same thing, almost the same thing. But wow, when was the last
yeah.
time?
That
Yeah.
so so similar scenery would be from the border the Kunjurap Pass to the town of Tashkurgan, and then from Tashkurgan to Kashgar. So because the whole area around Tashkurgan, like you say, is on the Pamirs, the plateau. Like we when we on our way to drive from Kashgar to Tashkurgan, we actually climb to one of the highest point was 4,200 meters above sea level. Like I tried to I was getting a little bit so I we had oxygen bottles, right? So I tried to do it without oxygen. Um, I try to take a deep breath, and suddenly I feel like a little bit short of breath because at that height, the air only have 50% as much oxygen as at the sea level. So just in case, I took a swig of the oxygens canisters we brought in. Yeah, like at the Kunjurab Pass, I think it's almost 5,000 meters, right, above sea level. It's pretty high. It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So when was the last time you went to China?
So I was actually in China in April, May, but I was only in Beijing and Shanghai, because I was only there for less than a week. So it was like going in and out. But the last time I spent significant time in China was 6 years ago, before COVID, before the pandemic, 2019. So there a lot has changed. I mean, every time I travel to China, it's like I'm traveling to a different country because every time I go, literally the infrastructure have changed, the landscape have changed. Um, and my impression is that this time things got very convenient for people living inside China, for like Chinese citizens or long-term residents of China. As long as they have the Chinese ID or the Chinese permanent resident card. It's very easy. For first time traveler to China, though, I think they still need a little bit onboarding. Like I wish they have a help desk booth at the airport who just tells the coming tourists, oh, okay, this is what you need to do. Download WeChat, download Alipay, hook up with your bank card, verify your account. You have to supply because I thought I knew how to navigate because I'm Chinese, I know the language, but still, I created, I downloaded Alipay as I associated Alipay with my bank card. I thought, oh, that's all I had to do. But when I tried to purchase a SIM card at the airport, it didn't work. It says, oh, suspicious activity. I was like, what? And then I had to turn on VPN, go to YouTube to look up a
Video.
Alipay tutorial, and they say, oh, because you need to verify your account by supplying your passport information. So I did
Ah.
that. After I did that, my Alipay started working. But I just wish, somebody had told me that, and instead of trying to figure out everything on my own. And and also I was going to the metro system in China was amazing in a lot of the big cities. But I was showing off to my wife, right? It's like, hey, I got this. I go to the metro, but I was doing everything that I knew back like 6 years ago. So I go to the ticket, I go find the ticketing machine. I select the map of where I want to go, the destination, and then it tells me how much it will cost. And then I use my Alipay to pay the exact amount. Then you spit out a plastic card. Then I use it to swipe me into the Metro card. I thought it was pretty cool. And then until I met my expat friend in China, Daniel Dumbriel from my hometown Chongqing, he's like, "What are you doing, man? Here, give me your phone. Here on your Alipay, there's a mini app called Metro. Just click on that, and then you just need to specify which city you're in. And after that, it will generate a QR code, and all you have to do is just use that QR code to scan you inside in any Metro station, and when you leave." You scan it to go out and you automatically calculate the amount. And the amount is like it's like nothing. It's like I travel a lot of time. It costs me anywhere from 2 to 4 RMB a trip, which is like almost like 50 cents US, like it's nothing. But it's super convenient because really outside the metro, um, especially you don't have children to worry about. They have these ride share bikes, ride share bicycles, and sometimes even electric scooters. Again, if you can use your Alipay, scan the QR code, and as long as your Alipay is working, that you will automatically tell you how much it will cost. I think it was like 1.5 RMB for the first hour or something. It's really cheap. So you can then drive those bicycle around the city, and you can just
Wow.
drop them off. There's like this designated drop off place everywhere, like just along the pedestrian street, and you just drop off, scan your thing, and you're done. And it's you can pretty much get around the city anywhere. Um, Provided you have a Chinese navigation map. So I downloaded 高德地图, which is in English is called A map. A like the letter A map. I thought it was only in Chinese, but apparently they have an English version now because my wife downloaded that and she said, "Oh, this is so much better than Google Map." And with that, with all the rideshare bikes, and plus Didi is like Uber, but they actually bought out Uber China. So Didi is this giant rideshare app in China. So anywhere you go, you can call Didi. They will arrive in few minutes. Again, it doesn't cost much. And only thing for a lot of this Chinese app to work is you need a Chinese number. So this is why I would recommend you to get a SIM card when you land at the airport. You get a SIM card, you get a local Chinese number, then you'll be able to use a lot of the Chinese app. Because what happened is they want a Chinese number so they can contact you when your Didi driver is close by, or if they need to. So that's why they need a Chinese number. So just get a SIM card at the airport. But after this kind of the brief onboarding, traveling in China is super easy, super easy.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
You had fun. Sounds like great fun.